Welcome to Starbound. My name's Chikondi, and I'll be your narrator today. Nearly 500 supporters get early access to our stories, including brand new episodes of Sunspire Academy and Farron and Rimiki. If you'd like to unlock early access and support new episodes and future series, tap Join below to become a Starbound member. Now let's get into today's story. Supreme Admiral Zeltharix of the Galactic Imperium stood on the pristine command deck of the Valkyris, hands clasped behind his back, all 6 of his luminescent eyes fixed on the view screen. His sleek, iridescent exoskeleton reflected the soft blue lighting of the bridge as he watched the approaching human fleet with something approaching amusement.
"Are those garbage scows?"
his second-in-command, Vyra, asked incredulously. The human vessels were hideous, blocky asymmetrical contraptions covered in exposed pipes, random armor plating, and what appeared to be actual rust. They looked less like warships and more like someone had raided a scrapyard, welded the pieces together haphazardly, and then strapped engines to the result. Zeltharix clicked in what paused for laughter among the Ventari.
2,000 cycles of interstellar conquest, and this is what challenges us. These primitives, they're so slow.
The Imperium had faced countless species across 17 galaxies. Each battle was a dance of precision and elegance. Their warships, sleek crystalline vessels powered by quantum singularities, were designed to strike with surgical precision, their hulls protected by energy fields that bent reality itself. And then there were the humans.
"Sir, they're hailing us,"
Vyra reported.
"Put them through. Let's see what these creatures have to say before we obliterate them."
The view screen flickered and a human face appeared. The creature had the audacity to be eating something while initiating first contact. "Heya," the human said, taking another bite of what appeared to be some kind of nutrient bar. "Captain Jesse Reeves of the HSS Pestilence. You guys the, shiny people we're supposed to be fighting?" Zeltharix's antenna twitched in irritation.
"I am Supreme Admiral Zeltharix of the Galactic Imperium, Commander of the 17th Fleet, Conqueror of—"
Yeah, cool resume," the human interrupted, brushing crumbs from what appeared to be a stained uniform. "Look, we've got a meeting in about an hour to discuss the paint job for our new rec room, so can we wrap this up quickly? Surrender, don't surrender, whatever works for you." The bridge fell silent. In 3 millennia of warfare, no one had ever interrupted an Imperium formal introduction.
"You dare?"
Zeltharix hissed. "I mean, yeah? We dare stuff all the time. It's kind of our thing." The human captain glanced off screen. "Hey, Austin, did you bring those cookies? Pass them over." Zeltharix cut the transmission with a furious gesture.
"Target that ship! That specific ship! I want it atomized!"
The Valkyris hummed as its quantum cannons charged. Beams of pure destructive energy lanced out, connecting with the human vessel. The pestilence exploded in a spectacular fireball, debris spinning in all directions.
"Well,"
Zeltharix said,
"that was disappointingly easy." "Sir,"
Vyra said, her voice oddly tense,
"we're being hailed again." "Impossible! We just destroyed their—"
The view screen activated without waiting for his authorization. The same human appeared, still eating. "That," Captain Reeves said, looking genuinely impressed, "was a pretty good shot. 10 out of 10 for the light show." Zeltharix's exoskeleton paled.
"How are you?"
"Oh, right. This is the HSS Pestilence. The other one was also the HSS Pestilence. We've got a lot of those." The human winked. "Anyway, our turn." The human ship, identical to the one they'd just destroyed, opened fire. The shots were crude by Imperium standards, physical projectiles, nuclear warheads, and what appeared to be mining explosives. But there were so many of them. The Valkyris' shields flickered under the barrage.
"Return fire!"
Zeltharix ordered. The quantum cannons fired again, and once more the human ship exploded. Victory lasted approximately 47 seconds. "Hey again," said Captain Reeves from yet another identical ship. "That was the HSS Pestilence too. Sorry for any confusion." Over the next 3 days, the Imperium destroyed the HSS Pestilence 64 times. Each time, an identical ship would appear with the same captain, who seemed increasingly amused by the whole situation. By the 4th day, the Valkyris was running dangerously low on energy reserves.
"Sir,"
Vyra reported, her voice hollow.
"our quantum cannons are depleted to critical levels. We've expended more firepower than we did in the entire Orion conflict."
Zeltharix stared at the view screen, where yet another HSS Pestilence was approaching. His left eye twitched.
How? How is this possible?
As if hearing him, Captain Reeves hailed them again. "Hey, bug buddies," the human said cheerfully. "Just checking in. You guys good to keep going? You seem a little tired."
What? What are you?
Zeltharix asked, his imperial dignity forgotten. Captain Reeves grinned. "Just humans doing human stuff. Oh, by the way, remember how I said we had a meeting about our rec room? We decided on burnt umber. What do you think?" Before Zeltharix could respond, the human ship opened fire again, but this time with a new weapon, some kind of electromagnetic pulse that knocked out half the bridge systems. "That was just a love tap," Reeves said. "Now, about that surrender." Grand Strategist Kelzara of the Imperium War Council examined the battle reports with growing horror. Her elegant, four-fingered hands trembled slightly as she scrolled through the data.
"This can't be right,"
she muttered.
"According to these reports, we've destroyed the same human vessel, the Pestilence, 73 times in the past week."
High Commander Drovak, leader of the Imperium's military operations, leaned forward in his hovering chair. His crystalline armor clinked softly as he moved.
Not quite the same vessel, he corrected. Our analysis suggests they're actually different ships with identical designations. It's unconventional warfare.
"It's insanity,"
Kelzara snapped.
"The resources required to build 73 identical warships are significantly less than you might imagine,"
interrupted a new voice. Both Imperium officials turned to face the holographic projection of Chief Science Officer Miraleth. The slender, blue-skinned alien adjusted her spectral enhancers as she continued.
"I've been analyzing the debris from these human vessels. They're remarkably primitive. No quantum technology, no reality distortion fields, not even basic graviton manipulators. Just steel, carbon composites, and what appears to be..."
She paused, checking her readings.
"Actual wood in some sections."
Wood?
Drovak repeated incredulously.
As in plant material?
"Precisely."
Miraleth's hologram gestured, bringing up schematics.
"Moreover, these ships aren't even well built. They're modular, with standardized connection points. Every component, from weapons systems to living quarters, can be detached and reattached with minimal specialized equipment."
Kelzara's eyes widened.
"You mean they're not building new ships?"
Miraleth confirmed.
"They're cannibalizing their destroyed vessels and reassembling them. When we destroy a human ship, they simply collect the debris, replace what can't be salvaged, and put it all back together."
Drovak stood abruptly.
That's barbaric. Where's the honor in that? Where's the craftsmanship?
In another sector of space, Captain Alexis May of the Human Space Service watched through a viewport as her crew worked in zero gravity, welding a massive gun turret salvaged from the wreckage of a destroyed Pestilence onto the hull of her own vessel. "How's it coming, Chief?" she called over the comms to her engineering officer. "Just peachy, Captain," came the cheerful reply from Chief Engineer Rodrigo Mendez. "This baby's gonna have some fancy alien scorching on it. but the firing mechanism is intact. I'd say it's actually an improvement. The heat stress has hardened the molecular structure of the barrel. Shoot straighter now. May grinned, taking a sip from her coffee mug, which read, "Aliens Suck" in bold letters. Her ship, the HSS Pestilence, formerly the HSS Nuisance, until a direct hit had obliterated the nameplate, and it was easier to slap on a spare Pestilence designation than requisition a new Nuisance one, had been destroyed 3 times in the past month. Each time, her crew had patched it together with parts salvaged from other wrecked vessels, gaining a reputation as the Frankenship among the human fleet.
Captain,
Her communications officer called out.
Admiral Reeves is hailing us.
The view screen activated to show Jesse Reeves, recently promoted after confusing the hell out of the Imperium for a week straight. "May, how's my favorite zombie ship?" Reeves asked with a grin.
Still shambling along, sir, May replied. We've incorporated parts from at least 7 different pestilences at this point. Engineering says if we keep this up, we'll eventually have a ship that's unrecognizable from our original design.
Perfect! The more confused those crystal bugs get, the better. Reeves took a bite of what appeared to be a donut. New orders from command. We're expanding Operation Cockroach. Every ship in the fleet is being renamed Pestilence. May nearly choked on her coffee.
Every ship? All 400 of them?
Yep, and we're standardizing exterior paint jobs too. By next week, the entire human fleet will look identical. I want those bugs to think they're fighting the same damn ship over and over until they lose their minds. Back in the Imperium War Council, the discussion had devolved into near panic.
The humans don't fight like anyone we've ever encountered,
Drovak said, reviewing tactical displays.
When we disabled a hegemony cruiser in the Vega conflict, they self-destructed rather than face capture. When we cornered the Syndicate fleet at Tau Ceti, they surrendered with dignity. But humans...
They don't surrender, and they don't die properly,
Kelzara finished for him.
Reports from the front lines describe human ships continuing to fight, even after sustaining damage that would render any civilized vessel inoperable. One destroyer kept firing after losing 60% of its hull integrity.
Miraleth's hologram flickered as she added more disturbing news.
We've also discovered that humans have been salvaging our technology. 3 Imperium scout ships went missing last month. We've now confirmed they weren't destroyed. They were captured.
A chill fell over the room.
What would primitives even do with our technology?
Drovak asked.
They couldn't possibly comprehend.
They don't need to comprehend it to use it,
Miraleth interrupted.
That's what makes them so dangerous. They're reverse engineering our weapons systems through pure trial and error. They don't care about the theory. They care about what works.
Kelzara stared at the tactical display, where hundreds of identical human ships, all designated Pestilence, were slowly spreading through Imperium territory like a virus.
We're not fighting a fleet, she realized with growing horror. We are fighting a concept.
The Imperium battlecruiser Eternal Radiance had cornered a human vessel in the asteroid field surrounding Proxima Centauri. The human ship, surprise, surprise, another Pestilence, was heavily damaged, venting atmosphere from multiple hull breaches, its engines sputtering.
We have them,
Fleet Commander Jax Vale said with satisfaction. After weeks of humiliating defeats, finally capturing a human vessel would be a much-needed morale boost.
Open a channel.
The communications officer complied, and the bridge screen filled with the image of a human female. Unlike the immaculate appearance of Imperium officers, she looked disheveled, with a smudge of what appeared to be grease across her forehead and a bandage wrapped around one arm. "This is Commander Elena Kuznetsov of the HSS Pestilence," she said, not looking particularly concerned about her dire situation. "What's up?" Jax Vale drew himself up to his full impressive height.
Commander, your vessel is crippled and surrounded. You have no means of escape. Surrender your ship and crew, and you will be treated according to the galactic conventions of warfare.
Kuznetsov seemed to consider this for a moment, then glanced off screen.
Hey, Talon, how's that thing coming along?
A voice replied from somewhere off camera.
Almost got it, Commander. Just need to bypass the safety protocols, which is, probably fine.
Kuznetsov turned back to the screen.
Yeah, so quick question. How attached are you to that really pretty ship of yours?
Jax Vale's antenna twitched in confusion.
I don't understand the relevance.
It's just that, well, our engines are toast, you're right about that, but we've still got thrusters, and some creative ideas about what to do with the fusion reactor now that all those pesky safety systems are offline.
The tactical officer of the Eternal Radiance suddenly straightened in alarm.
Sir, the human vessel is altering course. They're on a direct collision trajectory with us.
What? That's suicide!
Jax Vale exclaimed. Kuznetsov grinned.
Only if you care about dying, which honestly is very optional in our line of work.
She reached over to toggle something out of view. Suddenly, the human bridge was filled with the sound of ancient Earth music, a screeching primitive melody with lyrics about highways and infernal destinations. Behind Kuznetsov, her bridge crew had started an impromptu air guitar session while continuing their duties. One officer was actually headbanging while plotting thruster trajectories.
What? What are you doing?
Jax Vale asked, a note of panic entering his voice.
Improvising, Kuznetsov replied cheerfully. You see, Imperium ships are beautiful, elegant, and really expensive, right? Our ships are ugly as sin and cheap as dirt. So here's some human math for you. If we crash our worthless junk heap into your priceless work of art while our reactor's going critical, who comes out ahead in the exchange?
Sir,
the tactical officer called out.
The human vessel is increasing velocity, and they're ejecting debris toward us.
The view screen split to show an external camera feed. The human ship was indeed shedding pieces of itself. Parts of hull plating, what looked like furniture, and was that a toilet? Creating a field of shrapnel in front of it as it accelerated toward the Imperium vessel.
Are they weaponizing their own garbage?
Jax Vale's second-in-command asked incredulously. Kuznetsov overheard.
Waste not, want not. Each piece is carefully aimed, I'll have you know. We call this maneuver taking out the trash. Seemed appropriate given the company.
Jax Vale's exoskeleton paled.
Evasive maneuvers, now!
But the massive Imperium battlecruiser wasn't designed for rapid course changes. As the Eternal Radiance tried to pull away, the human vessel adjusted with surprising agility, its maneuvering thrusters firing in precise bursts.
Incoming!
Shouted the tactical officer as the first wave of debris struck the battlecruiser's hull. The impacts weren't severe, but the pristine surface of the vessel was now marred with scrapes and dents. On screen, Kuznetsov was holding what appeared to be a half-eaten sandwich in one hand while issuing orders with the other.
You know what I love about space combat?
She continued conversationally as her ship closed the distance.
Newton's first law. An object in motion stays in motion. Even a dead ship can be a weapon if you point it at the right target.
Sir,
the weapons officer called out,
should we fire main cannons?
Jax Vale hesitated. The human ship was so close now that a direct hit with their powerful weapons might cause damage to their own vessel. Kuznetsov noticed the hesitation.
Performance anxiety? Happens to the best of us. Though I should warn you, we've got a betting pool on whether your fancy quantum cannons would just pass right through our ship without hitting anything important. We've got so many holes already, it's basically structural negative space.
You are insane!
Jax Vale shouted.
Your entire species is insane!
No, we're just practical. Your ship costs what? The GDP of a small star system? Ours costs less than one of your fancy toilets. This isn't a battle, it's a business transaction. And buddy, you're about to take a major loss.
A new alarm sounded on the Imperium bridge.
Sir,
They've deployed some kind of... Are those mining charges?
The external feed showed small blinking devices floating in the space between the ships. The human vessel was now using its thrusters to navigate through them, setting up what was effectively a minefield between itself and the Imperium ship.
Just something we cobbled together from our mining equipment, Kuznetsov explained. Originally designed to crack asteroids. Never tested them on warships, but hey, first time for everything.
Talon appeared in the frame, holding up a tablet of some kind of countdown.
Commander, reactor bypass complete. We've got about 3 minutes until we either achieve criticality or...
He made a little exploding gesture with his hands.
Or the reactor stabilizes and we've scared the hell out of these guys for nothing,
Kuznetsov finished for him. She turned back to Jax Vale.
So, your call, Commander Fancy Pants. You can stick around and see which way this coin flips, or you can get your pretty ship out of here while you still can.
The distance between the ships closed rapidly.
Sir!
The tactical officer cried.
Their reactor containment is failing! If they impact us with a critical reactor! And don't forget the minefield,
Kuznetsov added helpfully.
Oh, and we've also got about 7 experimental weapons we stole from your research facilities that we don't really know how to use properly. Might set those off too, just for the fireworks.
Another officer appeared on screen behind Kuznetsov.
Commander, the shake and bake is ready. What's a shake and bake?
Jax Vale asked, despite himself. Kuznetsov's grin widened.
Glad you asked. It's when we take that fancy crystalline material your ships are made of, grind it up real fine, mix it with some oxidizing compounds we had lying around, and...
She made a kaboom gesture.
Turns out your ship hulls are surprisingly flammable when properly processed. We're planning to use it to write, "Humans were here," across your pretty command deck.
On the Imperium bridge, a junior officer whispered,
Can they actually do that?
I have no idea,
the science officer replied.
But I also don't want to find out.
Jax Vale made the only decision he could.
All hands, abandon ship! Get to the escape pods!
As the crew of the Eternal Radiance scrambled to evacuate, Kuznetsov saluted mockingly.
Thanks for playing. If you survive, tell your friends. Humans don't lose. We just find creative ways to not win that cost you more than they cost us.
The transmission cut off. As the escape pods launched from the Eternal Radiance, Jax Vale watched from his command pod as the human vessel slowed its approach, carefully maneuvering alongside the now empty Imperium battlecruiser.
They're boarding it?
His second-in-command asked in disbelief.
Of course they are,
Jax Vale replied bitterly.
They were never going to destroy it. They wanted to steal it.
Hours later, Commander Kuznetsov and her crew floated in their docking tube, preparing to board the abandoned Imperium vessel.
Extraction teams on their way with the technical crew,
Lieutenant Talon reported, checking a handheld device.
Should be here in about 4 hours.
Nice job on the reactor bypass, Kuznetsov said. That light show convinced them we were actually going critical.
Talon grinned.
The best part? We only had to sacrifice about 30% of the pestilence. Salvage teams will recover the rest, and we'll be back in another identical ship within a week.
Meanwhile,
Kuznetsov said, gesturing to the pristine, glittering hull of the Eternal Radiance,
the Imperium just lost a ship that took them 10 years to build. War of attrition, baby. We're just getting started.
She tapped her comm unit.
Engineering, you got those spray cans ready? I wasn't kidding about writing "Humans were here" on their command deck.
Already prepped, Commander, came the reply. We've also got, "If found, please return to Earth," stenciled for the exterior hull.
Kuznetsov turned to her crew with a grin that would have sent shivers down Jax Vale's exoskeleton.
All right, everyone. Let's go ruin something beautiful and make it useful.
In another sector, aboard a different human vessel, this one legitimately damaged beyond repair, Captain Marcos Diaz faced a similar situation from the opposite perspective. His ship, the HSS Pestilence, formerly the Indomitable until its nameplate was shot off, was surrounded by 3 Imperium light cruisers.
You are surrounded,
The Imperium commander stated flatly.
Your engines are disabled. Your weapon systems offline. Surrender now.
Diaz, bleeding from a cut above his eye, glanced at his tactical officer, who held up 7 fingers. Yeah, we're surrounded, all right, Diaz acknowledged, wiping blood from his brow. Quick question, though. Do you guys have escape pods? The Imperium commander blinked in confusion.
Of course we have escape pods. All civilized vessels.
Great, Diaz interrupted. You might want to use them.
Your threats are hollow, human. Your weapons are offline.
Diaz smiled. Who said anything about weapons? Hey, Jenkins, how's our little project coming along? A voice called from off-screen.
Antimatter containment deliberately failing in T-minus 7 minutes, Captain. We've got just enough control to direct the blast wave.
You are bluffing, the Imperium commander said, but his voice lacked conviction. Maybe, Diaz shrugged, but here's another fun human math problem for you. There are 3 of you and 1 of us. If we all blow up, you lose 3 ships and we lose 1. Who comes out ahead? There was silence on the channel. Still there? Diaz asked innocently. Let me sweeten the deal. You let my crew evacuate in our escape pods, we'll set the antimatter containment to fail after we're clear, and nobody has to die today. You still lose a ship, but hey, at least it's just 1 instead of 3. Plus, you know, the whole not dying thing is pretty appealing from where I'm sitting.
You would sacrifice your vessel?
The Imperium commander asked incredulously. Buddy, this isn't even my regular ship, Diaz replied. I'll have a new one by next Tuesday. Might even be nicer. Still, I'll get first pick of the salvage from whatever you guys lost recently. He glanced off screen. Hey, did we ever get that fancy food synthesizer working from the last Imperium ship we scavenged? Sorta, someone replied. It only makes things that taste like mint for some reason. See? Diaz turned back to the screen. We're still working out the kinks on the last ship we stole from you. Can't wait to see what cool features yours has. The Imperium commander conferred with someone off screen, then returned.
Your crew may evacuate, but we will destroy your vessel the moment your pods are clear, not allow it to explode and damage our ships.
Knock yourself out, Diaz said with a wave. Jenkins, abort the containment failure. Let our gracious friends handle the cleanup. As the human crew evacuated into their escape pods, the ship's engineer approached Diaz.
Sir, I should mention that while the antimatter containment system is actually stable, I may have wired the self-destruct sequence to trigger if anyone tries to access the main computer core.
Diaz grinned. Did you leave a helpful warning note?
Yes, sir. It says, "Don't touch this" equals boom in 17 languages.
Perfect, let's go. Later, as they floated in their escape pods watching the Imperium ships cautiously approach their abandoned vessel, Diaz's communications officer picked up a transmission.
Captain, you might want to hear this.
The Imperium ships were communicating with each other.
Approach with extreme caution. Human vessels are known to be booby-trapped. Check for hidden explosives in all systems. Remember what happened to the Luminous Virtue when they tried to salvage that human ship? The entire engineering section was rigged to a primitive spring-loaded mechanism that splattered something called glitter throughout their ventilation system. They had to scuttle the ship. Nothing could remove it.
Diaz laughed. Ah, the old glitter bomb! Classic! His second-in-command looked concerned. Sir, you think they'll trigger the self-destruct? I hope not. That ship still has my lucky coffee mug in the galley, Diaz shrugged. But if they do, well, one more tally mark for the humans are crazy column, which works just fine for our overall strategy. The rescue ships arrived 3 hours later, their captains swapping tales of recent encounters with the Imperium. As they were brought aboard, Diaz was handed a datapad with his new assignment. Looks like I'm getting the HSS Pestilence, he noted, scrolling through the details. Which one, sir? His XO asked. Does it matter? Diaz grinned. As long as it flies, shoots, and scares the hell out of the Imperium, I'm happy.
They're multiplying.
The words hung in the air of the Imperium High Command Center like a toxic gas. Science Director Vren Tull, a spindly, pale green alien with compound eyes that reflected the holoprojections surrounding him, didn't need to elaborate. The data spoke for itself. 1 month ago, intelligence estimated the human fleet at approximately 400 vessels. 2 weeks ago, after multiple engagements where dozens of human ships were confirmed destroyed, the count rose to 450. Today, despite continuous successful strikes against human shipyards and vessels, the estimate stood at 522. Grand Marshal Zex Talon, Supreme Commander of all Imperium military forces, slammed a clawed hand on the conference table.
This is impossible. We've destroyed more of their ships than they could possibly have built. Our blockades have cut off 80% of their supply routes.
Vren Thull adjusted his spectral enhancers nervously.
Sir, I've been analyzing debris patterns and salvage operations. The humans aren't just rebuilding destroyed ships. They're breeding them.
Explain, Zex Talon demanded. The scientist activated a holographic simulation.
When we destroy a human vessel, typically only 40 to 60% of it is rendered completely unusable. They salvage the rest. But instead of using those parts to rebuild one ship, they use them as starter material for multiple vessels, supplementing with raw materials.
The simulation showed the process. A destroyed human ship split into fragments, then those fragments forming the cores of 2 or 3 new vessels, which were then built out with additional components.
They're treating starships like cells undergoing mitosis,
Vren Thull continued.
1 becomes 2, 2 become 4.
Intelligence Officer McLara added grimly,
And they're not just using their own salvage, they're cannibalizing our ships too. 3 days ago, we received this footage from the Antares sector.
The display changed to show a recording of a human salvage operation. Swarms of small craft surrounded the wreckage of an elegant Imperium cruiser, cutting it apart with primitive plasma torches, hauling away sections of the once beautiful vessel.
Our ships are designed as integrated systems,
McLara explained.
The humans don't care. They'll rip out our quantum cannons and bolt them onto their rust buckets without understanding the first thing about how they work. Half the time, they blow themselves up in the process.
And the other half?
Zex Talon asked.
The other half, they create abominations like this.
The display changed again, showing a human vessel that was clearly cobbled together from both human and Imperium technology. The elegantly curved sections of Imperial hull plating looked obscenely out of place next to crude human steel, like diamonds set in scrap iron.
That's not the worst of it,
Vren Thull said quietly.
The latest intelligence suggests they've begun integrating our quantum navigation systems into their ships. With those, they can follow our supposedly secure hyperspace routes. Nowhere in the Imperium will be safe.
Meanwhile, deep in human territory, Lieutenant Commander Darius Westley strode through the massive space dock that had, until recently, been an abandoned mining asteroid. Now it bustled with activity as human engineers and technicians swarmed over dozens of ships in various stages of construction or repair.
Status report.
He barked at the harried-looking woman who fell into step beside him.
Mostly good news, sir.
Chief Engineer Sophia Patel replied, consulting her tablet.
Salvage teams recovered 62% of the pestilence. The one from the Proxima engagement, not the one from Tau Ceti or Sirius, I mean.
Just pick a number designation, for God's sake,
Wesley sighed.
Right. Pestilence 42, then. We recovered 62% of it, including the innovative reactor bypass Lieutenant Talon rigged up. We're implementing that feature in all new constructions. Gives us the ability to fake a core breach very convincingly.
They stopped at a viewport overlooking a massive construction bay. Below them, workers were attaching what was clearly an Imperium quantum cannon to the hull of an otherwise standard human destroyer.
How's the integration of captured tech coming along?
Westley asked. Patel grimaced.
Mixed results. We still lose about 1 in 4 ships when testing the alien weapon systems. The quantum mechanics involved are, well, they're not exactly covered in Engineering 101.
But the ones that don't explode?
Her expression shifted to a grin.
They pack one hell of a punch, sir. We're talking about 5 times the firepower of our standard main guns at a fraction of the energy cost.
And the crews are okay with the failure rate?
Patel shrugged.
We're asking for volunteers only. The waiting list is 3 months long. Turns out the possibility of instantaneous quantum dissolution is a risk many of our people are willing to take to get a shot at those bug bastards.
Westley nodded. That sounded about right for human military personnel.
What about Project Lazarus?
Ah!
Patel's eyes lit up.
You'll want to see this.
She led him to another section of the facility where a truly strange sight awaited. A human ship was being constructed, but its design was unlike anything in the human fleet. It had the flowing crystalline lines of an Imperium vessel, but built from crude human materials.
Is that...
Yep,
Patel confirmed proudly.
We've been taking detailed scans of every Imperium ship we encounter. This is our first attempt at replicating their design philosophy, but with our materials and sensibilities.
The ship was an unholy hybrid, beautiful and grotesque simultaneously. It had the elegant silhouette of an Imperium cruiser, but constructed from riveted steel plates rather than grown crystal. Where Imperium vessels had graceful energy projectors, this abomination had massive conventional gun turrets arranged in the same configuration.
We're calling it the HSS Bug Zapper,
Patel said.
First of its class. From a distance, it'll read as an Imperium vessel on their scanners, right up until it opens fire.
Westley stared at the monstrosity with a mixture of horror and admiration.
This is wrong on so many levels.
But effective,
Patel countered.
And we've got 5 more in production. Once we work out the kinks, we plan to convert about 20% of the fleet to this configuration.
The Imperium is going to lose their minds when they see these,
Westley said. Patel's smile turned predatory.
That's kind of the point, sir.
Back in the Imperium, Grand Marshal Zex Talon had reached a difficult decision.
We need to sue for peace,
he announced to the stunned council.
Surrender to primitives,
one councillor objected.
Not surrender. A strategic diplomatic solution,
Zex Talon clarified.
The humans don't fight like any species we've encountered in 20,000 years of galactic history. They don't respect the art of warfare. They don't build ships to last centuries. They build them to be disposable, replaceable.
He gestured to the latest intelligence reports.
We've destroyed over 500 of their vessels. And yet now they have more ships than when we started. We've lost 32 of our irreplaceable cruisers, each representing centuries of craftsmanship and resources.
Science Director Vren Thul spoke up.
There's something else you should know, Marshal. We've detected unusual activity in the Proxima shipyards. The humans appear to be constructing Imperium ships.
The room fell silent.
What do you mean, Imperium ships?
Zex Talon asked, his voice dangerously quiet.
I mean they're copying our designs, poorly, with their crude materials, but recognizably our configurations. We don't know what capabilities these vessels will have, but the psychological impact of facing our own designs in battle.
Zex Talon closed his eyes briefly.
Prepare a diplomatic envoy. We will offer the humans territorial concessions in exchange for peace.
And if they refuse? Someone asked. The Grand Marshal's expression hardened.
Then we prepare for a very long, very ugly war of attrition against an enemy that doesn't know when it's beaten, doesn't care about casualties, and treats warships like disposable razors.
He looked around the room gravely.
And I fear it's a war we cannot win.
The diplomatic chambers aboard the Imperium flagship, Resplendent Truth, had been prepared with the utmost care. Rare incense from 17 worlds perfumed the air. The gravity and atmospheric composition had been adjusted to Earth standards as a gesture of respect. The Imperium's finest translators stood ready. This would be the first formal meeting between the Imperium's highest representatives and the human leadership. After months of devastating warfare, both sides had agreed to discuss terms. Grand Marshal Zex Talon and the 5 members of the Imperium High Council waited in their ceremonial armor, which gleamed under the soft lighting. The humans were late, a final insult, Zex Talon thought bitterly. When the doors finally slid open, the Imperium delegation rose to their feet, expecting to see uniformed human military officers. Instead, a single human female walked in, wearing what appeared to be casual attire, dark pants and a simple jacket with a small insignia. She carried a disposable cup of some steaming beverage and was glancing at a handheld device.
"Sorry I'm late," she said without looking up. "Had to deal with a situation involving one of your abandoned cruisers. We're converting it into a shopping mall. The artificial gravity makes for a really interesting retail experience."
Zex Talon's antenna twitched in outrage.
Where is the rest of your delegation? Where are your military leaders?
The woman finally looked up, tucking her device away and extending a hand in the human greeting gesture.
"Admiral Eliana Gina, Human Space Service. I'm it, the whole delegation."
None of the Imperium representatives moved to accept the offered hand. After an awkward moment, Gina withdrew it and took a seat without being invited.
You came alone to negotiate terms of surrender?
Zex Talon asked, incredulous. Gina took a sip from her cup.
"Oh, I'm not here to surrender. I'm here to accept yours."
The chamber fell silent.
"Perhaps there's been a misunderstanding,"
said High Counselor Vrexmore, the eldest of the Imperium representatives.
"We arranged this meeting to discuss a potential cessation of hostilities, with appropriate territorial concessions to humanity, of course."
"Yeah, we're not interested in that anymore,"
Gina said casually.
"That offer might have worked 3 weeks ago, but things have changed."
She pulled out her device again and projected a holographic display into the center of the room. It showed a fleet of ships that made the Imperium representatives recoil in disgust. They were clearly Imperium designs, the elegant crystalline configurations that had defined their civilization for millennia, but constructed from crude human materials, bristling with oversized weapons, and painted in garish colors.
"Meet the HSS Bugzapper fleet,"
Gina said with evident pride.
37 ships so far, with another 50 under construction. We've made some improvements to your designs. Less pretty, more practical."
This is an abomination,
Vrexmore whispered.
"That's not all,"
Gina continued, changing the display. Now it showed human engineers swarming over what was clearly an intact Imperium cruiser.
"Your ship designs are really intuitive once you get past the whole grown, not built aspect. We've captured 11 of your vessels intact and have crews trained to operate them."
Zex Talon's exoskeleton had gone pale.
Impossible. Our ships are genetically keyed to Imperium biology.
Gina smirked.
"Yeah, about that. Turns out a little creative genetic engineering on some lab-grown Imperium tissue creates a pretty effective override. Like I said, we're practical."
With another swipe, she changed the display again. Now it showed a map of Imperium space, with dozens of red indicators scattered throughout.
"These are human sleeper ships," she explained. "Small, stealthy vessels we've positioned throughout your territory. Each one contains everything needed to establish a shipyard and start producing our lovely roach ships, as you call them. If we don't reach an agreement here, I push a button and humanity breaks out like a rash across your entire empire."
The Imperium representatives exchanged horrified glances.
What do you want?
Zex Talon finally asked. Gina leaned back in her chair.
"Total surrender of the Imperium to human authority. You get to maintain local governance, but strategic decisions will be made by human administrators. Your shipyards will be converted to build hybrid vessels under human supervision. Your technology will be shared freely with humanity."
This is outrageous, Vexmore exclaimed. The Imperium has stood for 50,000 years. We've conquered galaxies. We will not bow to primitive...
"Okay, let me stop you right there,"
Gina interrupted, holding up a hand.
"Let's be clear about something. You guys are artists. You build beautiful ships that take decades to construct. You fight wars like they're elegant chess matches."
She leaned forward, her expression suddenly intense.
"We're not artists. We're pests. We don't care about beauty or elegance. We care about survival and efficiency. You can kill us, but we just keep coming back, more numerous than before."
She stood, walking slowly around the table.
"You know why we call all our ships pestilence? Because that's how we fight. We're a disease to your elegant empire. You can try to treat the symptoms, but we've already infected your entire civilization."
Gina stopped behind Zex Talon's chair.
"You have 24 hours to accept our terms. After that, we release the swarm."
She placed a small device on the table.
"This communicator will connect you directly to me when you're ready to accept reality."
With that, she walked toward the door, pausing only to add,
"Oh, and we're keeping all those ships we've already captured or copied. We've renamed them, too. The HSS Cultural Appropriation has a nice ring to it, don't you think?"
After she left, the Imperium representatives sat in stunned silence. Finally, Vexmore spoke, his voice hollow.
We've encountered thousands of species across millions of worlds. Some were more advanced than us, some were more numerous, some were more aggressive, but never have we met a species so persistent.
Zex Talon finished for him.
They're like a virus that evolves faster than the cure.
1 month later, Admiral Eliana Gina stood on the bridge of her flagship, formerly the Imperium cruiser Eternal Light, now rechristened the HSS Pest Control, watching as the formal surrender ceremony was broadcast throughout both human and Imperium space. Captain Jesse Reeves, hero of the initial engagement and now her second in command, stood beside her. "You know, I still can't believe they gave up," Reeves said. "Their empire spanned 17 galaxies. We barely have a presence outside our home system." Gina smiled slightly.
"They gave up because they fight to win. We fight not to lose. It's a completely different mindset."
She gestured to the view screen showing an Imperium shipyard, where human engineers were already directing the construction of new hybrid vessels.
"They built an empire on beauty and precision. We built ours on duct tape and stubborn refusal to stay dead."
"To the roach ships," Reeves said, raising a coffee mug in toast. Gina clinked her own mug against it.
"To the roach ships."
As they watched the ceremony unfold, various screens around the bridge showed footage from across former Imperium space. Human engineers were already taking apart elegant alien structures, studying them and implementing crude but effective modifications. In some shipyards, half-finished Imperium vessels were being completed with human parts, creating bizarre hybrids that somehow managed to function better than their pure counterparts.
"You know what the best part is?"
Gina said, sipping her coffee.
"This is just the beginning."
"How so?" Reeves asked. She gestured to a star chart displaying the known galaxy and beyond.
"The Imperium wasn't alone out there. There are dozens of other advanced civilizations who've never encountered humans before, all with their own beautiful, elegant technology, ripe for creative reinterpretation."
"You're thinking expansion?"
"I'm thinking evolution,"
Gina corrected.
The Imperium fought us like we were a conventional army. The next species might be smarter. They might adapt, so we need to adapt faster.
Reeves grinned. More uglier ships? More confusing tactics?
Exactly,
Gina said with a satisfied nod.
The beautiful thing about ugly is that it can always get uglier. The roach ships were just our first iteration.
She turned to face the vast expanse of stars visible through the view screen.
Somewhere out there, some elegant advanced civilization is going about their perfect lives, creating their perfect technology, fighting their perfect wars.
Her smile turned predatory.
They have no idea what's coming for them.
Across human space, shipyards hummed with activity as thousands of vessels were being built, repaired, or cobbled together from salvaged parts. None of them were beautiful. None of them matched. All of them were named Pestilence. And they were multiplying. As the decades passed, humanity's influence spread like a particularly stubborn fungus. Their hybrid ships, which Imperium Aesthetics Committees officially classified as visual war crimes, became a common sight across the cosmos. Some species found them horrifying, others fascinating, but all agreed on one thing. You never, ever picked a fight with humans unless you were prepared to fight the same ship at least 50 times. Humanity's official diplomatic greeting, crafted by Admiral Gina herself, became legendary. We come in peace. We'd prefer to stay that way. But if you'd rather see what we're like when we're angry, please note that we've already ceded your territory with 24 shipyards, and we've got engineers who view your beautiful technology as a fun weekend project to reverse engineer while drinking beer. Perhaps most irritating to the former Imperium officials was humanity's insistence on turning their humiliation into humor. The newly established Human Imperium Cultural Center on Earth featured an entire wing dedicated to ships we've cobbled together from your wreckage, complete with a gift shop selling toy models of the infamous Pestilence and t-shirts reading, "My warship destroyed an elegant alien cruiser, and all I got was enough parts to build 3 more ships." When a prestigious galactic council finally invited humanity to join, the human ambassador arrived in a shuttle patched together from 7 different alien technologies, sipping coffee from a mug made from a repurposed Imperium quantum resonator. When asked to explain humanity's rapid rise to power, she shrugged and replied,
"Turns out the galaxy's fancy Silk Road was waiting for someone to sell duct tape."
As human Imperium hybrid vessels ventured toward new frontiers, captains would raise their coffee mugs in the traditional toast. To the roach ships, because in the end, it's not about how pretty you look in the fight. It's about still standing when the dust settles. And stand they did, spreading across the galaxies like the magnificent, beautiful plague they were proud to be. Humanity had found its place among the stars, not by becoming more like the aliens they encountered, but by being more gloriously, unapologetically human than ever before. The final insult, as far as the Imperium was concerned, came when humans started a galaxy-wide franchise of repair shops called "We'll Fix Anything with Anything." Their commercial featured a smiling human engineer holding up what appeared to be a quantum singularity stabilizer, patched with what was unmistakably actual chewing gum. Their slogan, which would haunt the Imperium for generations, "It's not stupid if it works." And work it did. As humanity's peculiar brand of chaotic innovation continued to spread, even their most ardent critics had to admit a begrudging respect. They were impossible to predict, impossible to outthink, and most annoyingly of all, impossible to get rid of.